Hello everyone, my name is Sonny Herman. I'm with cmh3studio and today is another codoozer tutorial. This one's still related to databases, so it's kind of like I would say database tutorial number 4. But this time we're going to discuss a little bit about the differences between local and online databases or cloud databases using Firestore. Alright, so we'll get our PowerPoint up. We're going to discuss some of the use cases for local databases and why you would use them. And then, of course, the opposite, or the cloud database. Why would you use a cloud database? And today I will show you a demo using both. And the best way I can describe the local database is everything that you will add to the database or delete from the database will be on the device itself. It would not affect other people who have downloaded your app. But if you use a cloud store or a cloud database like Firestore, anything that you publish to that Firestore will then be viewable by others. And that's the one I was kind of reaching for when I was coming up with the Hump Day Haiku database. So let's actually talk about the local database first. When you create a database in codoozer, you have to define it on the app's JSON data right here. So you would have database, you click on the button there, you would click and give the ID of the database, the type, whether it's CSV or JSON, and then the actual JSON file that has your database on it. So let's go to codoozer and let's see that screen here. So here's the database button. You would open that up. If there was nothing here, you would click add and you give your ID, you give your type as JSON, and then you give your file. And what I found is you can just, from your Windows Explorer, you can just drag that onto there. So I'm sure I have it here somewhere on my desktop. Yeah, you would simply just drag this JSON file right onto your codoozer app screen or web screen, and it'll place it right under there under resources. And if you wanted to look at it before I even drop it over there, you can see that I have index, date, haiku, and credit, and I have roughly 8 records starting with 0. And you can see those same 8 records right here in the codoozer web screen. So after you define your source, which is that file, you can then start using the ID in your web and your design. So one of the first places, let me just check here that I haven't missed something. I just tell you that my local database is the haiku.json, and that your local database resides on your device and will not be updated when other people use their device. So where I use my local database is in a list. That's a very common thing to do, is to list out your database. So the function is called list, and your data source is the ID of your database. And then to get the fields off that collection that you've just referenced, I'm referencing the database collection, you use the keyword field to display those fields. So let's take a look at that. So remember, my database has index, date, haiku, and credit. Those are all fields. And when I want to display them, I just come down into here, I create a text field or a text type, and then here's the keyword field. And I do one for date. I do, text field equals date. And then the last one, I do text and field equals haiku, and that will list all my database fields that I want to present. Now I don't have to display them all, but I can if I want to. And even on the database screen, which is really just a detail screen, I list out those same things here. So if you wanted to see those, they're the exact same thing. You just say text and display my date. And so the source I'm just referencing is database.haiku. And the property number is, I use that to be distinctive on which item from the list I'm selecting. So let's export this out, and let's bring it up on our Knox emulator, Android emulator. And so as I do that, I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything that I need to tell you. The add function. Yeah, I'm going to show you that here in just one second. So, I mean, why have a database on your phone if you're not going to add things to it or take things away? So when we were talking about use cases, I was thinking about apps that would utilize the local database source. That could be something that the data may never change, and you just want to display it from a database. And the other one I was thinking of is like there used to be this app a long time ago. I think it was called Remember the Milk or something like that. And it was an app that was created for people to say on this app, don't forget, select milk, select eggs, select, cheese, and it would add it to this local database. That would be a good use case to create an app that maybe is like a reminder of things to buy. Now I know that there's probably more advanced, what is that? Alexa or even Google Home probably keeps a list for you. But if you don't want your information out on the interwebs, then you can create a local database on an app, and it won't be shared with the rest of Google. Let's go take a look. I'll explain the ad here in just a second. I'm not going to leave you hanging. So let's download it. And this is a different database. That's or a different version of the app. Let me just go ahead and uninstall and install our local one. So I've been playing around with the Hump Day Haiku app for a while, and this last part is just adding records to a local database and adding records to a Firestore database. And how you add records is actually with the function called add. So over here, I put my add function actually on a dialog screen. The dialog screen is the one that appears after the user submits some items into a field, or fields, plural. And then on cancel, I don't write the record. On confirm, which is a positive action on the dialog, I say add, and I just reference the fields that were in the submit screen. I do credit, I do date, I do haiku, and I do an index. And I'm writing those to the local database. So back on codoozer, you see that same thing here. I'm just, on the on click of the confirm button, it's going to write these out, and then it's going to go to the listing screen. But on my submit, this is where the users enter this values from the field, like the date and their haiku that they came up with. Hopefully it's interesting and cool. So this is the field, the input field. And so all you do there is you do, Let's make sure I got the right one. Yeah, so this is the calendar one right here where they do a calendar pick. So on click calendar, it's going to write it into the property.date field. So property.date will be one of the items submitted. And then here's my input text field, and this is for property.haiku, and there should be one for credit, property.credit. And so when the submit button is clicked, right down here, it's going to do the pop-up, and it's going to go to the submit dialog. So we'll click there. So remember, it was property.credit on an input text, property.haiku on an input text, and property.date taken from a calendar function, but still labeled property.date. So back on submit, come up here, and you can see I'm listing these all out. And the index number, like I was talking about, is my way to control the record, like a record count. So whenever a new record, the last record is found, and when they click on the button, it increases that record by 1. So if there were 9 haikus, it would say the last number is 9 plus 1, increase that number by 1 and then add it. So it would be like number 10. And I don't remember if this is the one I got rid of. We'll see real quick. We'll just click on it. We'll know if it's the local database or the online database. I can't remember because I guess I should have gave it a different name, but I was using the same application 2 different ways. Now I did save them off. I did do an export CDZ and saved them off that way. So let's go look at the list here. This will tell me which ones I got. Yeah, this is the online database, and I apologize. I should have noticed that before I started the tutorial. So we'll uninstall. Yes, I want to uninstall it. And just to make sure I got the right one, I'm just going to export one more time. It will get confusing if you're playing with two different projects that are nearly identical, one being the local and one being the Firestore version. I did the local one first because that was the one I had most understanding of. I can reference a local file, the .json file here, and that one was easier for me to put together. The Firestore one, it took me a little longer, and and I'll explain this, but I had to take away some functionality. I didn't quite know how to get what would be a count from the Firestore database, like, just show me how many records I have, a count. That would be something, hopefully, if you know how to do, you can let me know. I'll show you what I'm talking about. The ability to count, I was using that counter as a way to increase the index number, and I had to remove all that indexing stuff away from the Firebase version of the database because you'll see it doesn't have an index number. It has something else in its collection. Alright, so now we should be looking at the local database, and I'm just going to click on here and look for a full list, and I should see a full list of haikus, and they are there. That's the same ones as these guys, so that's correct. and it counts it for me. That's great. It can also do the searching. That was in another video. But I go to submit your own haiku. I have to specify the date, the haiku, and the author or the person we're going to credit. So you just click on there for the date. And for now, I'm just going to write the word test. Oh, come on. Test. And I'll put sunny. And when I submit this, just like over here on the submit button, it's going to take those values. It's going to run up to the dialog box. It's going to ask for the confirm or the cancel. On confirm, it's going to write the records. So actually, I'll do cancel to show you that it's not going to write the records. It just comes right back, which is sweet. But this time we'll do confirm. And as you can see, I added this record down here, tests. And you can even click on it, and it'll bring up the values that were stored. So that's how you add to a local database. I could even do it again if I want to. Submit my own haiku, call it test2, sunny2. Yay! I don't even know. I wonder if this would even be able to pick up those two that I just submitted. Ha! It did. That's pretty sweet. Alright, so let's switch gears and we're going to talk about Firestore. So use case for Hump Day Haiku has always been that many people could submit haikus, not just one person saving it to their own phone, but that, you could publish it or share, submit it and other people could read haikus. I thought that would be interesting. So what you have to do there is you have to change up your references to the database. So let's go ahead and select my Firestore version of Hump Day Haiku and give you the differences. So one thing to note is under Android, you're going to have to add Firebase, and you're going to have to, if you haven't already created a Firebase account, you're going to have to do that. There's no way around it. You're going to have to create, just go to console Firebase Google and create an account. And once you're there, you'll have to create a project. Hopefully you guys have seen this before where you do create project. And once you do that, you're going to need to download this Google-services.json because you're going to reference that in your Firebase file. And then you're going to set Firestore to equal to true. So you have to get the Google Services JSON from your project in Firebase. You're also going to have to create a database in Firebase. So once you get that Google Services, you're done with that part. You go to Firebase or database, and then you're going to have to create or add a new Firestore database. So let's go ahead and come back and show you the Google Services JSON needs to fall into the external folder. So just like when I grab that JSON file, the haiku.json file from here, you'll grab your Google Services and you would drag that onto here, and it's going to land in that external folder there. So very similar. It doesn't hurt the application to have the old JSON file in there. You can see it's there, but it's not being referenced. It's just not going to be referenced. So then you just make sure that you have under Android Firebase file. It's got the file. It's in that location, and you've got that set to true. Alright, so now in my listing screen that lists the items in the database, I'm just going to change my data source, which is pretty nice and convenient. So instead of database.haiku.db, you can see that I'm now referencing my Firebase.firestore.haiku, and the haiku is the name of my collection. Right? And the same goes for the fields. This part didn't change. The field is the same. It's the name of the fields that are on the database, and these are the same. My credit, who I'm going to credit, the date, and the haiku. And so one of the things you may say is, where's that index that you had? Well, that was my problem. That's what I spent hours trying to figure out and couldn't. As you can see, I've done a couple tests already, and it does not index them like I was anticipating. So your collection has these documents, and then it has the fields that go with those documents. I was expecting those to be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It wasn't. And so I couldn't use some of the functionality to reference, index 0 or index 5. It just wouldn't work. So I had to kind of just let it go for now. I'll address it later where I can get, more. I want to be able to count how many are in here. And with the online database, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how to do a count. But the most important parts is that you're still able to use something like this, and when other people download the app, they'll hit the same collection that's getting updated by multiple users. And very similarly, I use the dialog screen on positive to add to the fields, just like I did before. The only thing I changed here was actually the to location to show at firebase.firestore.haiku. So let's see that on codoozer. So on submit, this is that same screen. When you click submit, which is all the way down here, it goes to here. I'll just pop that up, and you can see it's listed right there. So let's download this and let that start, and get rid of the other one if I haven't already. So this would have been the local database. Goodbye. And I think I've talked to you guys about this. This is the Knox emulator, Android emulator. It's what I use probably 90% of the time. I have used Visor, V-Y-S-O-R, to do some emulation. But I prefer not to use my own cell phone to do testing, because I always inherently get a phone call, usually during taping or doing a tutorial. So this will be done here very soon. And let me see if there's anything on the PowerPoint I haven't discussed yet. Nope, that was it. So just kind of coming back, you can see the difference between the local saving and the online saving is just a matter of changing the destination. And the difference between setup is that you specify Firebase with the Google Services JSON file in true, and on the local database you don't have to have the Android Firebase part, you just have to reference your local database. Fields are the same, the data sources would be different. Local data source would look like that, at database dot the ID of your database. And for the cloud version, it would be at firebase.firestore and the name of the collection. So I'm actually going to close that, download this, come over here, do app install, go to downloads, and get this should be the online version. So we can come over to our database. This is the online database. I've already done a few. Oh, there's a test one. Let's get rid of that. That looks ugly. And then I'm going to add one and show you that it increments and creates. So let's see, our database has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I look at the database, this is looking at the cloud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have some to add. I'm going to add a few. I think 513 was the last one. Let's add 520. I'm going to submit. I'm going to go to my calendar and scroll up to 520. I'm going to insert. I'm copying and pasting that from the text files. And I'm just going to put Daryl's name in there and click submit. So if I click cancel, it just comes back to the screen. It doesn't do anything. As you can see back here, it hasn't done anything. When I click confirm, it's going to add my new record. So now I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's add another one. I was thinking about it, I probably need to add some kind of functionality that clears that text out in case somebody's, I guess, adding multiples. But we can, it's not a big deal. We can clear those out. Or we can leave them in. I think I probably need to delete all that. Yeah, it'd probably be better to clear those out, and so I don't have a bunch of, so someone wouldn't have to do this. But that's okay. Works the same way. And I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And as you can see, it's updating with all the information. So again, with the this part of the cloud, I couldn't figure out how to sort these on the database, so I've still got some work to do there. But as you can see, the functionality works, and it's pretty cool. So just a couple of reminders that if you are finding these tutorials helpful, please let me know in the comments anything that you're looking to do, or maybe you're struggling to get accomplished. I know that I do struggle, and I reach out to others. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a learning process, right? But if you do like what you see, please hit the like and follow button. If you're on YouTube, if you are a library user, which I highly recommend, you check out library.tv. You can click on the library link. I put all that in the description below. With that, that's all I got for today. You guys have a wonderful evening, and take care.